we go.
Oh, there you are.
All right, I got it.
You got a camera. You got a camera.
Got a camera and I'm in my house. I'm gonna finish making my tea.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, the meeting is live and streaming. And I'm going to drop out of the video. Anyone has any problems, just let me know. Send me a text, an email. I'm available. And I'll be watching the meeting.
Okay.
Thanks, Cliff.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you, Cliff.
I see we have Ed and Ellen again. Hello.
Are we doing Pete first? Is the chief coming on?
Chief got an invite.
I'm actually doing two screens. This is like way past my skill level.
You got really technical.
You'll never go back.
When I was in high school, they started offering computer science classes. And I remember thinking, where's this gonna go? Hey, Colby, I'm just about to start a Zoom meeting. Yeah. Right. Okay, 1 minute. Hello, Vasami.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
How the kids? Driving you crazy yet?
Yeah. You know, trying to do the homeschooling thing. It's not working out as well as it should, I think. But
Yeah. Appreciate teachers more after this.
exactly.
All right, folks, it's 5 o'clock. Good evening and welcome to the 5 p.m. budget work session of the Village of Mamaroneck Board of Trustees. Tonight, we're going to discuss the police department and the fire department. I need a motion to open this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I guess we'll start with, Jerry, did you have a preference of where we start with Chief Primrose or Chief Leahy? Can't hear you,
No,
Jerry.
Mayor, I have no preference.
Okay. Well, let's start with Chief Primrose because he's here. Chief, how are you?
A little tired, but ready to go.
You're healthy, right?
Yes, absolutely. I have not gotten sick.
Good. Thank God. Be careful out there. Chief, why don't you want to run us through your budget? You want Jerry to help you run through the budget here?
I would love some assistance.
All right, well, I cut right to the chase, Chief.
Okay.
The budget has a 15% increase in several different areas. If you can identify the areas, let me get to that page.
Yep. Okay, so I believe you're talking about the increases that we put into the main title is uniforms. And
Let's go to radios first. And let me just get to the right page. I apologize.
sure,
I had a
absolutely. I got to
reset.
find the correct page myself.
72, I'm starting at 72 and working my
Yep.
way up the line. Okay. Your first increase is at the top of page 73 of 179. You have an increase of what looks like $9,000 in pagers and radios to comply with the new county requirements.
Yes, okay. Now I understand what you're talking about. Okay, so what is happening is that currently the county radio system is operating on antiquated technology. It's what is known as VHF low band radios. And this is technology that goes back actually well into the 50s. And the manufacturers of radios have stopped supporting this technology at this point. With that, it's become increasingly difficult to maintain the radio system, and the county who handles our dispatch has been looking for several years to phase out the low band system and move all of our communications up into the UHF high band. And we've actually been anticipating this for a while. We've been curbing our purchases of pagers to the absolute minimum for a number of years because we knew this was coming. And we've been trying to get information from the county for years. They finally, about 3 or 4 months ago, confirmed with us that the frequency range, although not the actual frequency, that they were going to be using for the new paging systems. That expense of replacing the pagers, while it doesn't have to be 100% today or this year coming, we have to start making the purchases for the planned phase out. And to be honest, if the system, if the county system were to have a major failure today, we would run into a big problem because, again, they're not supporting the technology anymore. So this is what will actually be the first of at least 2 or 3 rounds of purchases of new pagers to replace the old ones as the technology is phased out. That's why the large number.
Okay.
The question, is it possible not to increase the number this year and push it into next year? Okay, I am not the radio person, to be honest. I'm basing what I've put in here on my my assistant chief, who's been handling radios for the department for a number of years. I don't know
off the top of my head the exact date that the county is going to, number one, begin transmitting on the new frequencies. And the other side of it is that I don't know the exact date that they're going to stop transmitting on the current frequencies. The current frequencies could theoretically go down at any time at this point, and repairing them, I don't believe the county is going to make a major investment to replace them, because as I said, the support is going away, and actually for the most part has gone away. We actually have been trying to buy radios for some of our apparatus in that bandwidth, and we can't get them from our normal suppliers. This is something that is going to happen, whether we want to make it wait or not. Because at some point the system is going to go down. We don't want to be in the position that we are unable to get our calls. We want to make sure that we can continue to respond. I think that putting it off might be a problem, probably could be a problem, but again, the time factor on that is, there's some unknowns because we don't know when the system is going to finally go down.
Now, Chief, let me ask you something. Back when the prior chief was around, we spent $100 and something thousand on radios. Were these different radios?
Yes, these are our pagers.
These are your pagers.
Okay. There are over 100 pagers in the department. I don't have the exact number. Again, my radio person handles that stuff for me. There are over 100 pagers in the department, and they're given to the members to carry, to alert them of a call in the village. They're a portable unit. They're nowhere near as expensive as the big portable radio. Well, I shouldn't say big, as the portable radios that you so graciously purchased for us a few years ago. That's a completely different system. That's for the radios that were purchased a few years ago was it's an on fireground actual operations channel, not a dispatching situation.
Okay. So there was something else I saw. It was a big increase. Hold on here.
Yeah. Yes, I know there are several.
Yeah. You know what's going on, Chief, right? I mean,
I do. I'm well aware that there is there's going to be a shortfall this year in income.
yeah.
And I'm absolutely willing to work with it. I just don't know where we can make a lot of cuts. I have one or two possible ideas. But as far as the radios, I mean, we might be able to cut it back. I don't know if we could cut it completely. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, I'm open to your ideas about where to cut.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest. If you look at what has already been spent this year, the building improvements budget has not been moving as quickly. So I would be willing to accept some well, I would suggest cutting a little bit from that area. I'm not sure how much, but cut some from there.
What area were we talking about?
Jerry,
If for cutting,
account 409, building improvement. 409,
Augie, what page is that?
page 74,
Gotcha.
the bottom, 34,
Gotcha.
409.
Thank you.
Right. So building improvements. So
Why do automotive repairs go up so much right above that?
okay, automotive repairs. My page numbers don't match yours, people, so just bear with me.
Okay, automotive
Oh.
repairs 27%.
Okay. Automotive repairs.
Am I muted?
Okay.
Where are you, Tom, on automotive repairs?
Page 74,
Yeah.
right in the middle of the page.
Can you, I'm sorry, but the chief has a different report because he only has his department, so the page numbers don't help him.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 3410.
The account number is probably better to give him.
Yeah, 3410 0408.
Yeah, I have it now.
I'm sorry, 0407.
He's got it.
Yeah.
Why'd that go up so much, chief?
Trying to remember. I believe we increased it because when we worked on the first meeting of the budget, we were already very close to what we had spent, what we had budgeted for this year. I don't have all of the exact history, but that line typically comes very close to, and occasionally, from what I understand, has gone over its number. And I'm just trying to find it again on the older sheet. Yeah. So just as an example, as of today, with still 2 months to go and some repair problems that have occurred, we're down to $6,000, and I'm afraid we're actually going to go over, and I believe we increased it based on the fact that we assumed it was going to go over this year. Because 110 is, I believe, what was originally budgeted for the last year and before that. So we raised it based on the predicted increase in costs based on the fact that we had burned through so much money this year rapidly. Sorry, that was a roundabout answer. I apologize.
The question is, can it be pulled back?
Yes, I believe it can be. However, it's somewhat unpredictable. If I were to have a major breakdown, for example, if God forbid we were to blow an engine or a pump were to have a major failure, we would end up blowing right through the budget, or having to take an apparatus out of service, a piece of apparatus out of service for a long time.
I don't think anybody wants to compromise the ability of the department to function and to render the fantastic service which you do. But right now, the village is hemorrhaging.
I understand that.
So
What I would suggest.
So the question really is, on all of this, and all departments are being asked, where can cuts be made to what I would call non-essential things that could be postponed for a year? Not that anything in the budget this year that it's been proposed is wrong or, is fluff, etc. It's a question of, when we have to tighten our belts, everybody has to tighten the belt.
Yes, of course. Okay, so yes, we could certainly cut the maintenance budget back possibly to where it was this year.
What number is that? 12,000? The maintenance budget? I'm sorry, the 110,000?
Yes.
Okay, so taking 30,000 off of that. What else do you have?
If we were to take, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I have my numbers correct as I'm going through this. Going back to the building improvements.
Building improvements, for 2 years in a row, you spent in excess of $85,000. This year, you've only spent $12,000.
That's
So
correct.
How much do you want to take off of that?
How about 15?
15?
Yeah.
And why did you spend 85,000 for 2 years in a row, or 88, around 85,000, and this year you've only spent about
Okay.
12,000?
Sure.
Any idea?
I can absolutely explain that.
Sure.
So, first of all, let me correct that. I can't explain why the past 2 years, the past few years, the number was that high, because it was not my department at that time. However, this year, we've run into a couple of challenges with deciding exactly what changes we want to make to the firehouses. As you know, well, actually, you may not, Jerry, because you're kind of new here still.
Very new. Yep.
The lion's share of the improvement budgets go to the firehouse that the chief is out of.
Oh,
Now, in this case, because we have a building that is a joint venture between two companies, instead of getting one group of people to agree, we actually have to get two groups of people to agree about changes in common areas.
okay.
This has slowed us down quite a bit. Add to it some other issues that we've had this year with personnel issues and some other things that I admit have distracted me.
Uh-huh.
The money hasn't been spent as quickly as possible as in the past, which is why, as of right now, we don't have as much spent. Now, the reality is that I'm currently waiting for several quotes. Hopefully they will be in, one of them will be in tomorrow. That's a fairly large quote for an upgrade for something. And we're also working on 2 additional projects here in the firehouse. One of which has already partially been funded, which is replacing a number of the fluorescent lights with LEDs. And there's going to be a second phase to that once the first one is complete. And then and added expenses for that, and also some finishing up some work that was never actually completed properly when the firehouse was built 10 years ago.
Such as what?
Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Such as what? I'd like to try and get a little bit better handle on the specifics, what we're talking about.
Okay, sure. So we'll start with our windows in the firehouse. The contractor put up the cheapest possible wood he could put up. It's discoloring. It was never finished properly. There are no window treatments on the windows, so we have no shades, no privacy in certain areas where we need it. Things like that was all left by the wayside. From a security standpoint, our electronic locking system that is throughout our firehouse here was never fully completed. That's another project that is on the plans for the upgrades of the firehouse here. And we're also trying to make one of our areas a little bit more inviting to the volunteers, in hopes of keeping them coming and possibly even drawing some new membership to us. If you look at the older firehouses in the community, there's this probably isn't the right word, but an ambiance to them. It draws people. Our building here, it's been described as a cafeteria. It's been described as an office. It hasn't been described as a home, which is what you find a lot of other firehouses being called. And that a lot of our younger members are indicating that is detrimental to their wanting to be here and detrimental to drawing other people here. So that's something we want to change a little bit where we can.
Mhm. Hey, Chief,
Yes, sir.
on the uniforms,
Yes.
you originally requested 78,000 and then you went up to 101.
Okay. So I can explain that quite simply. The standards on the uniforms, specifically our protective clothing, not our dress uniforms, have changed. There's more protection for the firefighters in regards to cancer protection and other chemical penetration. And there's been an overall increase in the cost of an ensemble from the manufacturers of almost 30%, which is why we've increased that number as much as we have. The turnout gear has a 10-year life, and after that, it's really not supposed to be used for interior firefighting. If someone were to get hurt, the first thing the lawyers would do when the lawsuit came up is they would roll out the NFPA standard, and I don't know the exact number, pardon me, that says that the turnout gear should not be more than 10 years old. So we do need to replace it on a regular basis, and the cost of doing so has gone up.
Okay, so let's take the turnout gear out of the equation, because that
Okay.
went up 10,800. Is there some you can give back on the other increases?
Okay.
I know you guys looking spiffy, but you know.
Well, okay. I don't have the exact breakdown in front of me of how much was spent on. You're referring to dress uniforms and things like that.
Replacement uniforms went from 12,000 to 25,000.
Okay, I'm just looking for
Line
that page.
3410.0250.
Mhm. 0.30. Replacement uniforms is listed as. It doubled.
More than double.
Yeah, more than doubled.
Okay, damn it. I'm sorry. I'm just having trouble following where we are on the pages. I
Okay.
apologize.
We'll wait for you.
Thank you. Okay, here we go. All right. Replacement uniforms. Okay. Actually, okay, from 12,000 to 25. So that money actually is mostly used for when a set of gear gets damaged to the point it needs to be replaced. But yeah, I see that is a big increase.
Can we give that a haircut, Chief?
Yes, absolutely. How about we take that down to 18?
We're going in the right direction at least. Thank you.
Is that not enough?
No, I mean, no, if I appreciate the effort.
Okay.
Two additional areas you need to talk about, Chief, if I can
Yes.
jump in.
Of course.
A 3410-0257, replacement of old or damaged fire hose.
Yes.
We budgeted 9,000, you haven't spent any yet.
Okay.
And you're asking for 10,000.
Okay.
Why haven't we spent any yet?
The quote came in today for half of it.
Okay, so you'll spend 4,500.
Yes, but that's only part of the hose that's being ordered. There's some discussion about with some of our hoses, I don't want to say a new technology, but a bit of an improvement. And to be honest, I am more of a ladder firefighter than an engine firefighter, so I'm having to rely on input from other members. And there's a discussion back and forth with regards to our what we call attack lines, which are the slightly smaller hoses that we use, not as opposed to the really large ones. And improving the technology on those, which is a little bit more expensive. And I'm trying to be as frugal as I can with regards to that. So we're working on determining if there's enough benefit to replace the rest of the aging hose this year with the newer technology hose, which is what the delay is there. When the discussion came up, it was already into the cold months, and performing any testing was not really possible because we didn't want to be putting a bunch of ice on the ground.
So if you spend $9,000 worth of hose before June 1st, do you need to spend another $10,000 worth of hose after June 1st?
We'd be moving on to the next rig, basically, that gets replaced.
Okay.
The way the hose has been done over the last number of years is that basically half of a rig has been done on 1 year, on the first year, and then the second year, the other half of the hose. We have a number of different sizes of hose, and of course, there's different prices. Last year, the engine that I'm working on this year had its supply line, its large 5-inch diameter hose replaced. This year, I'm working on the smaller hoses for that engine. And I'm also working to try to get a little bit ahead on one of the other engines because of if we switch to that new technology hose, I want to get a couple of rigs in with that rather than just one.
And then my last question is about testing. The testing budget has more than doubled.
Okay, okay. Testing of fire hose or testing of?
No, annual physicals.
Oh, that one. Yes.
Do you have twice as many members?
We have twice as many members that are taking the department physical. I believe it was 2 years ago now, the state implemented the cancer insurance program for volunteer firefighters. And the workload greatly increased on our medical officer as a result, because there were a lot more people who wanted to make sure that their medicals got in so that they would be eligible for the cancer prevention. In the past, a fair number of people would go to their own doctor and submit paperwork. The problem with that was that the physicals were never really done, to my understanding, were never really done properly by those physicians. There was some discrepancies as to whether they passed breathing tests that were supposed to be part of the physical, and some other issues. So the department as a whole made it a mandate that anyone who had their physical be part of the system, partly for record keeping and partly for continuity of the physicals, that everyone had the same, that all the physicals were supposed to be done through the testing company that we've been using for well over 10 years. But so the number of physicals that have occurred have gone up, which is why the increase. The reality is we blew through our budget this year and I had to transfer money.
Okay. That's all for me.
Anybody on the board have any other questions for the chief?
Yeah, I do. I think that your helpfulness in trying to reduce has been well received. I would like you to go back and take a look at the increases that we've talked about and see if there's any additional that can be taken out. Specifically, I'd like you to talk to your people about on your pagers and improvements. We're not trying to twist your arm, and we're not suggesting that all the different improvements are undesirable. Actually, I think they all are. The question is whether they can be postponed.
I understand.
Every little bit helps. And the more that can be done voluntarily, the less onerous it is for the board to have to make subjective cuts that everybody's not going to like.
I understand. I will be honest. I've only really been looking at this for the last couple of days as far as the cuts, because I wasn't really aware that the revenues had dropped as much as they had. So I didn't know that we were going to run into this much of a problem.
Okay, so we're running into a problem not only for this fiscal year, but significantly for next fiscal year.
They're dropping like a rock, Chief. Just what everybody knows, the chief is, or one of the chiefs, or all the chiefs are going to come to the next work session because we're going to have a discussion about, the feasibility of the Fireman's Carnival and the parade. So we want to have an open discussion about that.
I mean the work session for our regular meeting? Right, okay.
It's time sensitive. We're going to pull the plug. We got to pull the plug soon.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Not that I want the plug pulled, but
No, nobody wants
I
the plug
understand
pulled.
it may need to be.
Yeah. So we'll see where we are in the world then.
Okay.
But Chief, thank you for working on this and going back and sharpening your pencil. We appreciate it. If you have any more suggested changes, please email them to Jerry.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Chief, and thank all the chiefs for all the work they do every day and all your men and women.
Okay. No,
Thank
thank you for your time tonight.
You're
All of
welcome,
you.
Chief. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Bye.
Thanks, Chief.
And now we go to the other chief.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Chris.
Bye.
Mayor, before the chief goes, I don't see trustee Tafour. I don't know if he dropped. He must have dropped because I don't see him on the screen.
It was just on.
He's on. He's just his camera. And
I'm on the phone with Trustee Tiffer right now. I've got him so he can hear the entire meeting, and I'm
Okay.
getting him reconnected.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good stuff.
Chris,
Yes.
do you want to present or you want to ask questions?
It's probably easier if you guys just ask questions. I could throw out some numbers, but ultimately you guys are going to ask the questions. So
What page is
I just want to point out before that the chief's budget is essentially flat. He's provided a budget for this year with everything that he needs regarding personnel, public safety, response, and everything associated with that for an increase of less than 1%. So I appreciate that very much because it's hard to do when we're dealing with increased costs all over the place.
All right. Chief, how many sworn officers have you?
we're budgeted for 51.
Including yourself?
Correct.
But you're one down, right?
Correct.
And is the one down resulting in additional overtime, or are we able to rearrange schedules not to have to worry about that? Not that we want to not worry about it.
That's difficult to answer now because of the situation that we're in. But ultimately, it will result in overtime.
How many officers are out sick or on disability?
we should probably discuss that at another time.
Okay, sorry, my bad. My bad. Forget I said that. Well, I appreciate you coming in with a flat budget.
Mhm.
Yeah, that works good. You know what, if I can ask Chief, the timing situation with the vehicles. So typically, I know it frustrates you, what's the lead time on vehicles? And it looks like there's an increase in the vehicles, but that's probably because of the new technology, right?
So Ford came out with a new platform.
Yeah.
And as such, they're very late getting off the assembly line. We ordered 2 several months ago that we're still waiting for.
Yeah. Do you think that's going to speed up as they get geared up?
They promise us it will.
Yeah, okay. Okay, good.
Chief, is this the SUV or?
So yeah, so they Ford did away with the Interceptor, the car, and they only have the SUV now. But they changed the chassis, they changed the body style a little bit, and it caused a several-month delay in getting the cars. I'm sorry, the SUVs.
Which is only increased now because of factories not being operating at full capacity.
The lag time would be increased now, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate that you're coming in with basically a flat budget. Is there anything that you could suggest that could be postponed for a year?
I think collectively we've done the best that we could. I don't see putting off anything until the following year. Everything that I have in this budget is a need to have, not a want to have. So I don't think there's anything else that I could defer.
What do you usually, Chris, replace 2 cars a year?
3.
And we take that out of operating, that out of capital, right?
Correct.
At one point, we were taking out of capital, right? Years ago?
Not during my tenure.
I think when
Way
you were
back.
sergeant, and I was a trustee, I think they were doing that. But I think it's better to do it the way you're doing it, actually, because it's a recurring expense. When we were young, Chris.
That was many moons ago.
You did, you zeroed out, Chief, you zeroed out taser repair and, oh, I see, because we had that big purchase this year, right?
So we entered into the leasing agreement with Taser. So
Right,
that,
okay.
we didn't have to deal with these anymore.
Okay, good. That's good.
Tasers?
Yes.
Huh. How often does a taser have to be replaced?
Taser will warranty it for either 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I thought it was 4 or 5.
Right.
Yeah, I think we just declared some Taser surplus within the last 2 months.
Correct.
You just can't put these things on eBay.
No, please don't.
Does anybody have any questions for Chief Leahy?
I mean, some of the overtime is really not our cost because it's billed out to other construction projects. And I guess the question is, do you think we'll have fewer of those kinds of projects in the coming year if everything kind of grinds to a halt?
I can only judge what's been going on for the last 7 weeks, and there has been a significant slowdown in the amount of details that we've done.
But that doesn't work in our favor because it's overtime that's compensated for.
Right.
Actually, we lose a little money.
Hmm?
We lose a little money.
A little, right?
Anybody else have any questions for the chief? Jerry?
Nope, Mayor, I don't have any more questions.
It's an easy night, chief, huh?
It wasn't bad. After the last 7 weeks that I've had, I could use an easy night.
That's true. That's true.
I'm sure you could.
Thank you for everything you and your men and women are doing.
You're very welcome. Thank you very
Amazing.
much. Thank you for your leadership.
We'll get through it.
Yes, we will.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
want to talk about revenue? Well, we got some time.
Yeah, we worked, Dan, Laura, Augie, and I worked for over an hour and a half earlier today on revenue. We basically augmented some of the information that we provided in subsequent emails.
Mhm.
So in previous emails, we sent you the spreadsheet that was still kind of formulating and developing. And so what we did today is we took the mind-numbing approach and looked at every single line and came up with what is going to be presented to you by Augie right now. So if you can see some of the items, and I'm not going to be able to recall the various methodology that we used because we looked at every individual item separately. But the basic methodology was that we were going to potentially lose 2 months of revenue in quite a few areas. And so the last column represents either losing 2 months of revenue or going further and trying to figure out what the impact is going to be to us in the budget, in a tentative budget that's presented to you. So for instance, if I can go down to A1, the 630,000, Augie, is sales tax. We'll talk about the sales tax. A110, I forget the other number. Keep going up, yeah. A110.1120, sales tax distribution. So we developed this number, or the projected revenue loss. We projected originally $3.7 million. The county, in a call a couple of weeks ago, every day is the same now anyway. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a call with the county, and they said to probably keep your sales tax projection flat from the previous year. So our previous year sales tax original budget was $3.03 million. So far, we've collected, according to this spreadsheet, almost 2 million of that. We're not really sure. I think the April number comes to us. Did we get March yet, Augie? Do you recall?
No, not yet. We're waiting on that.
And then the May will come in, past close to the end of this budget year.
Yeah, it should come in probably sometime in early July, and then we accrue it to the prior fiscal year.
So we're projecting that sales tax is going to be right around $3 million. So what we're looking at is a projected revenue loss of $630,000 based on what we projected, excuse me, on March 13th. Then there's other items. There's other items here where as we continue to go down, we're looking at potentially losing 2 months worth of revenue, or in the event that, and we can go to building department fees, Augie. Further down, I think it is, right? Yeah, right here.
If there it is.
So we're looking at projected loss of 25%. And Dan Sarnoff will be able to explain to you a reason why we looked at something like that.
So what I did was I looked at kind of like what the county did in terms of the last recession from about 10 years ago. I looked at what our building permit revenues were for 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010. And really, we saw the biggest decline in the 2009 fiscal year, or the year that ended May 31, 2009, which is about a year into the recession. We went down about a third, 33%. So I'm kind of estimating that we'll probably be in that range again. But with the increase that the board adopted on Monday night with the building permits,
Were reduced 25%. Sorry for coughing. What other items? Augie, if you can zone in on a couple of big items and we can explain a little bit more of the methodology. Oh, yeah. So this was potentially, and if you guys can help me out, I can't recall where the 190 came from.
the fines and forfeited bail are composed of the moving violations, the parking violations, and the code violations.
Right.
Obviously, with depending how long this lockdown lasts, less vehicles on the road, means less moving violations, means less parking violations. So that's kind of those are the big numbers that are composed in that line.
So what the total of all of the reduction is what?
Oh, that's at the very bottom. That's the surprise at the end. That's the surprise in the box. He'll show you in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie,
Oh, so mortgage tax. Oh, the mortgage tax is the same way. The mortgage tax we anticipated, so the discussion with the mortgage tax was if I want to sell my house in June, but I wait until January, we're still going to collect that mortgage tax on that property. There will be a reduction potentially in the price of homes, which will impact the tax. But we came up with a $75,000, basically it was a number to try to anticipate something in the way of mortgage tax, but we really don't know what the mortgage tax impact is going to be. So we just utilized the $75,000 number. And can you guys recall if we discussed anything further on mortgage tax?
No, mortgage tax is one of the revenues that are very unpredictable.
Yeah.
We just took 2/12 of it.
Yeah, that was it. That's all we could really come up with. And then, of course, if we could move up on the spreadsheet to the recreation, everything that we discussed last night in recreation, we reflected in this spreadsheet.
Can you hear me?
Huh?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
We can hear you,
question on
Victor.
mortgage tax. I just got fed up again by Cliff, so I'm sorry. I apologize for
That's okay.
being late. But on mortgage tax, it's not a huge, but I did see, and I've heard that even before the crisis, some municipalities were budgeting about 80%, even before the crisis. So a good example, town of Mamaroneck budgeted 80%, so 20% less based on a normal year. So
Okay.
that's a good indication. So on top of that, we have what we have now. So
Okay. So that would make that number 90,000,
probably around that time. Yes.
right around there. So we're at 75. So it can be amended to use that methodology. And then what we did with recreation is we just used the numbers that Augie, Jonathan, and Laura and Jason Pinto worked on yesterday. And so all those numbers are reflected on the spreadsheet on your screen in blue. And then, so the final number at the very bottom of the screen is a significant number, which we all knew was going to be a significant number. And it's in excess of 2 million. It's $2.07 million. So if our trend continues, to the credit of some of the department heads, our operating budget has gone down significantly. I know that Augie and Laura can try to update it live, but we still have quite a few budget meetings to to go through in order to figure out what the actual impact is going to be.
I don't know if we're going to talk about the non-departmental expenses, Jerry, but with the conference call with the county this afternoon, one of the things the county executive mentioned was rather than fund their tax certs through their general fund, they were going to borrow for their tax certs. I don't know if that's something we want to consider as part of this budget. I think we're proposing an appropriation of around $700,000 for the tax certs in 2021. We're aware of several large certs coming down the line from the town of Rye and also the town of Mamaroneck.
And so if I can recall the numbers from the email earlier today, we typically budget 350, and then I guess we added an additional, Augie, like 300,000, an additional 300,000 to that?
Yes.
Yeah. It's because we knew, well, Laura and Augie attended the town of Rye's last tax assessor meeting, or the assessment meeting that they hold. And I guess we were told that there was going to be some big ones coming down the line.
Yeah, there would be several big settlements, to well over 300,000.
And so that's a different approach to be able to bond tax certs instead of taking them out of operating. If there's a way to lessen the impact on this budget, that could be one option for the board to consider. And that would be, of course, a significant help to our budget. The county earlier today, hold on, let me get my notes, said that they're looking at an impact of what comes out to 4.2 to 7.6% to their budget. This 2,2069 number on your screen is approximately 5% of our budget. So we're right in line with what the county has anticipated that they're going to lose. They're going to lose somewhere between 90 and $160 million. So we're thinking along the same lines. Whether we're both right, nobody knows.
Well, I wouldn't count on this, but there's talk that the next congressional relief bill will have relief for local governments. So, I mean, obviously you can't budget for that, but we can hope and pray.
Yeah,
Senator Schumer talked about that today on the county call. And my takeaway from it is that the Republicans hate it utterly. And to the extent any of us know people in Republican senator states, we should call them and tell them to contact, their senators. He didn't sound particularly hopeful. I mean, I think there maybe some, but the Republicans are fighting it tooth and nail, it sounds like. Was that your takeaway, Jerry? I mean,
No, that's accurate. That's what he said. He's less eloquent than Deputy Mayor Winstrup.
I don't think
he was pretty blunt, right?
Yeah, it was. Blunt. I wasn't hopeful after hearing him.
Yeah. So that's where our number is.
Grim.
Yeah.
Do you have any sense of what the bond market is doing in terms of, I mean, is it still relatively inexpensive to bond some of this, or is that changing?
I don't know. Laura and Augie may know more and have a sense.
What?
It's kind of from a monetary policy.
Let's just say, Augie, we bonded the certiaries. What are we paying on a bond now?
Right now, the bonds are under 2%. Bands are under 1%. But the thing is, you're going to issue a 5-year bond. We can't predict out in the future what the rates are going to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
I guess we're just trying to get through 2020, 21.
So this is our most accurate assumption of the revenue loss.
And just the county's predictions, were they based upon like the economy trying to get back in shape by June or something like that? Did they say?
About their sales tax predictions?
Yeah.
I mean, they were predicting a 20% reduction in the sales tax revenue for April, May, June, July, a 10% reduction in, I think, August, September, October, then 5% December, January, and then back to normal. I mean, if you saw from the email I sent yesterday, the county said that their March collection was equal to their February collection. But if you look at their original spreadsheet that they sent out to all of us, you know, they were predicting, you know, $62 million in March as opposed to $50 million in February. So if a 2-week shutdown cost them $12 million in tax revenue for a 12-month period, that's a significant number.
Yeah, because people spend, well, you see people shopping as they're in the grocery stores, right? And you don't pay sales tax on food.
And obviously with the the incredibly low price of oil right now.
Yeah.
Even if you know, the shutdown tomorrow, the sales tax generated from the gasoline is going to be paltry compared to what it was a year ago, 2 years ago. So there are a lot of, in addition to the public health crisis, there are other external factors which are going to impact that sales tax regardless.
And I'll tell you, I'm driving into the Bronx every morning. It's like driving at midnight on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
No cars
Yep.
out. Oh, well. Does anybody have any questions or suggestions on the, the one question I had, in a decrease from the recreation department, we haven't like offset the cost decrease yet, have we? I mean, if we're not having these programs, there's less costs too, right?
Yeah, we did that last night.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
last night.
All
We
right.
did that last night. A
Yeah, and there
significant
was a significant
reduction.
reduction. I mean, there was.
Huge. It was huge.
That was
Yeah.
my best shot. That's what I got.
No, there's something there. There is.
Okay. Is there any hope here?
Crickets.
No silver lining?
No, I told you it was going to be a surprise, right? I told you that.
Let's hope this is the silver lining and it's not worse.
Yeah, you're right, Nora. You're right. I think that, yeah, it could be much worse. Let's pray to God it isn't. But, you know, like I said, the unemployment numbers come out tomorrow. And if it's another 6 million people, incredible. All righty. Well, thank you for putting this together. I know it wasn't a happy task.
No, it's not. It's hard to guess.
It is.
It's hard to guess, and it's frustrating. I want to be wrong in one way. I don't want to be wrong the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
Right.
a couple of questions on some items. I don't know if we're still wrapping up, or is it time to ask a couple of questions? And
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Speak up though, please, Victor. I can't hear you well.
okay, this just got set up, so I don't know what's. Let me see if it's my volume. Let me see what I can do here. Okay, I just let me see what I can find. Rental of property land. That's what is that? It was 30 this year. I think probably that has to do with the golf, but it has to do with sport time also. I see tennis two places. There's tennis fees in where we have all the camp. It was 40 this year. It was going up to 255, and it's now coming down 63.
Do you want to know why that is in tennis?
Yes, and also I saw in the budget, when you have, I think it's rental of property, you have sport time in there. It's not here in this list, but it's in our list of revenues. So explain those two lines.
So the sport time was budgeted because this time last year, we didn't know if we were going to have an agreement going forward into the following year. So that's why we only budgeted for a couple of months of revenue. Then the board and Sport Time developed and approved a 1-year operating budget, an operating agreement.
Yeah,
And so the full amount was anticipated, not the full amount, but a much higher amount was anticipated for the full year, I should say, for the full year.
that's
And
good.
I had the same question about rental of property as well. So that was something, Laura, were you looking that up, or Augie, were you looking that up, which items that comes in under?
Yeah, so
You see, rental of property, I see it in our budget, page 65, US Open, 30 goes to 45, it was tentative on 50. The reimbursement of parks, of course, was 0, is 22, and Sport Time, 75. So Sport Time is there with 75.
That's the minimum, that's the minimum payment.
Minimum that we, okay,
Mhm.
all
I
right.
think we were depositing money in 2 locations. There was the rent, the monthly rent, and then they give us the payment for the tennis fees, and it's
Okay, so
on 2
you
different places.
so you split it in 2.
Yeah, that's,
So what is different? What is the tennis fees different? Anything
well,
that's.
that's the license fee, the percentage of the gross.
Yeah, the operating
Okay,
license agreement.
okay, so you do reflect it here both ways.
Mhm.
Okay, that's, how about,
yes,
how about,
yeah.
how about the parking meters? We have 800. You say it's coming down like 133.
The parking meters is an easy one to calculate because we anticipate we're not going to start collecting on parking meters until August 1st. So we just eliminated 2 months.
3. Oh, for the next one.
We hope we're wrong, but in this projection, parking meters, we assume no collection in June and July. Let's put it that way.
And my comment was, I did something a little different, which was just looked at 5 years back. And if you look, and there's some off years because of what was the economy, but it was basically 745. I'm going 1918. And then before it was 700.
Yeah.
Before that, 675. And before that, I think probably that was before the increase of the rates, that famous summer.
Yeah, well, there are a couple of factors. First, a couple of years ago, we extended the parking on Mamaroneck Avenue until 8 p.m.
Yeah, I remember.
Second, you're right. There have been increases in the fees, the parking fees. Another item with more usage of the multi-space parking meters, the apps, because you can't hop onto someone else's time.
Yep.
We're going to see higher revenue because of that.
Okay.
It's not like the old days when you parked at a meter and there was 15 minutes left.
Yeah.
You can't make that assumption anymore.
Anyway, five years ago, it was 455.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been going up steadily. Those are real numbers.
Okay. One last question here is at the end, which is the transfer from the water fund and from debt service. We pulled from water fund 50 and from the debt service 160. And that is reflected in our funds. So why is that the case? And it doesn't really affect the revenues here, but I've always had that question. Maybe Augie or Laura can help me understand. You see the bottom, at the very bottom.
Yeah, at the very end of the spreadsheet.
Why do we pull money from the funds to here?
Money from the debt service fund is pulled into the general fund to help offset debt service cost. So any extra funds that are remaining in a project that was funded through bonds or bans, the money has to be used to pay off future bonds and bans. As far as the transfer from the water fund, that's to offset some of the administrative costs management does to do in assisting in the water fund.
Okay.
So part of my salary, part of Dan's salary, Jerry's salary, which we, John Carvino, that we do the bills, We manage the bonding and everything. It
Yeah.
also part of our salary to pay for this.
Okay. All right, I thank you. Yeah, that's it.
Mayor, I don't have anything else.
You know what? I'm sorry. I just went through a whole speech and I was on mute.
Oh. Well, we enjoyed it.
My son did.
But the question is whether anybody in the audience has any questions. If they, we forgot to ask that when we were on the last two.
We don't take, during a work session, we don't take audience questions.
From the budget committee, you do. At least that's what we told them.
If they're from the budget committee, I'll be okay.
Well, do they? Ellen does. Somebody click on it. Click on Ellen, Augie. Ellen Hauptman.
I don't know if Cliff set up this Zoom so that they can do that. Can she?
Hi, Ellen.
Wait, hi, can you
Oh,
hear me
good,
now?
good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, a Verizon commercial.
Yeah.
The one thought that I have, and many of your questions to the department heads have been going in that direction, kind of. But given that we really have no clue how long this pandemic is going to last, or the lockdown is going to last, and we have no clue what's going to happen come the fall again, do we want to, and I'm about to be very extreme, so I'm warning you, do we want to consider doing a budget that's really bare bones? Keep the lights on and don't do anything else. I think if we end up raising taxes when the unemployment rate, and Tom, I believe you mentioned, God knows what we're going to hear tomorrow when the new numbers come out, you know, raising taxes with such huge unemployment numbers really isn't the right thing to do.
Well, you know what? There's not a lot we don't do that isn't vital. You know, we have police protection, fire protection, sanitation protection.
Yep.
And that's 98% of our budget. And, you know, we can't skimp on those. I mean, part of that is keeping the community healthy too. I understand what you're saying, Ellen, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that we're not going to be doing this year in terms of recreation and stuff.
Right. I heard that yesterday from Jason.
But I don't know what's, you know, extemporaneous, you know, because the second you cut something, that's important to somebody else. I've been down this road plenty of times.
Yep. You know, I know it's very difficult to do, but my concern, bigger concern, from an unemployment perspective, if we're raising property taxes, how many people aren't going to be paying their taxes at all? And that's revenue we're counting on. And we have no way of answering that now.
No, we don't.
It's hard.
I understand your concern. I really do. But
I was listening to, and oh my God, I just drew a blank on his name, from the fire department, the fire chief.
Pete Primrose.
Thank you, Chief Primrose. And based on a different, completely unrelated request, I started gathering information on surrounding communities, on their fire departments. We have fewer calls, we have much more equipment, and we have many more houses. So if a good chunk of that budget was for improvements in our firehouses and on the equipment, maybe we need to look at that. You know, what are those needs truly? And how do other municipalities do with less?
Just as an aside, they also have paid firemen and we don't.
Some were mixed.
Mixed, but they all have paid.
Right, but the point, actually, the one that was all volunteered never answered any of my questions after chasing multiple times, so I gave up. But whether it's volunteer or not volunteer, why would we need more engines, more ladders, more houses?
That is an existential question. I agree with you.
You know, and I'm not trying to pick on them. They do a great job. But, you know, if we're trying to do bare bones or cut where we can, maybe we put off some of the improvements in the firehouses. Unless the ceiling's going to collapse on them, which clearly we can't do.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Thank you, Ellen.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for coming.
Thanks.
And I do want to say, I do appreciate your comment, and I don't think we're too off from that reference point, which is not increased taxes. Because with the revenues that we just saw coming down too, cuts, well, we should keep it as a reference. I do think, I mean, I hear your concern.
No, and I know your questions to the department heads have been, what can you do without? What can you push off till the next year? So I know you're thinking that way. I didn't mean to imply you weren't. I'm just not sure if we're digging enough.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
aye. Thank you.
All right,
Have a good
thank
weekend,
you all.
everyone.
Thank you, staff, for the hard work.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks.
thank you, crew, for working hard.
Yep.
Hopefully everybody stays safe until we see each other next time.
Thanks.
Good night.
Yep, good night.
Thank you.
Augie.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Cliff.
Yep, you're welcome. By the way, your video looks good.
Yeah, excellent, thank you.
I'm glad it worked.
Right, excellent.
Okay. Bye.
Take care.
How do we get out of here? Exit.